Hello my dear friends, let's solve summer 2023 component 2-3. Hariharan Ponmani here. 1. The speed time graph shows the motion of an object. How far does the object travel at constant speed? Okay, we have to find the distance traveled in the speed versus time graph. And the clue here is how far does the object travel at constant speed. So which part is constant speed? Only this part. We have to find the area under this part only. So distance traveled is area under the curve. So we can see that it's just length into breadth, which is 10 into 5, height is 5, so 50 meter. If we didn't read the question and then understand that how far does the object travel at constant speed, if you find the entire area, it can go wrong like this. So 50 meter is the right answer. Next, which statement about a falling object accelerating close to the Earth's surface is correct? Okay, so all the options are discussing about air resistance and weight. So first thing first, weight is constant. Okay, W equal to mg. Weight of an object is a constant because mass is constant. How about air resistance? So the air resistance, in this case viscous, is proportional to velocity square. So it's going to change and it's going to increase as the velocity increase. So the air resistance on the object will increase, the weight of the object is constant. Which one gives that one? C. Okay. Maybe it will be informative to see why other options are wrong. The weight of the object is increasing and the force of air resistance on the object is decreasing. Both are wrong because the weight is constant and air resistance eventually will increase, not decrease. Okay. The weight of the object and force of an air resistant on the object are equal magnitude but act in opposite directions. So if this is the case, then the object will no longer fall down, since all its weight is balanced by air resistance. They are equal in magnitude. It will float in the space. So this is not true. Option D, the weight of the object is less than the force of air resistance. Again for this case, if the force of air resistance is higher than the weight, the object will go up, not come down. So option C is the right answer. An aircraft is moving at 60 meter per second in northerly direction. When a crosswind from the east starts to blow, the speed of the wind is 13 meter per second. What is the magnitude of the aircraft's velocity when the wind is blowing? So let's count this as north. North is going up and then the wind is blowing from east. So it will, flowing from the east. So it will look like this. So since wind blows, it will change direction. Eventually what we are finding is just resultant component of these two. We know how to find the resultant component. It's just a square root of x square plus y square, using Pythagoras theorem obviously. So just velocity we want. Option C. So square root of 60 square, which is aircraft square, and then 13 square, which is the wind square. So if it goes like this, like this, so the resultant will be in this direction. 61 meter per second. Two rectangular blocks consist of different materials. 4 different methods are suggested to compare the two masses. Which methods give a comparison of the two masses? Okay, so we have to compare masses. Okay, let's go through one by one. Compare the accelerations with which they fall freely. This is not going to work because acceleration is constant due to gravity is constant for all objects respect of their mass. Okay, the reason is compared to the earth mass, this mass is negligible, difference in mass, and we know the value G is 9.81 meter per second square. So no, it's wrong. Red means wrong. Compare the values of their length, breadth and height. So this will give idea about the volume. if density is provided, then we can use this to calculate mass and compare, but density is not provided, so this is also not going to work. Hang each in turn from the same spring, compare the extensions. Okay, this will work. The reason is F equal to minus kx, this is a spring equation, the extension. Okay, for different mass it will give different weight, so different extension you will have, so you can compare the weight, hence we can compare the mass. Okay, place one in the right hand pan of a beam balance and then the other in the left hand pan. So again here we are comparing both masses by comparing their weights, so sort of moment. Okay, so which one is higher, that will go down, and then which one is lower, that will go up. Okay, so 4. So which methods give a comparison of two masses? 3 and 4 only. An object in a space probe above the earth weighs 3.5 Newton. The gravitational field strength at the height of the space probe is 7 Newton per kilogram. The gravitational field strength on the earth's surface is 9.8 Newton per kilogram. What are the mass and weight of an object on the earth's surface? Okay, so an object in a space probe above the earth weighs, now the weight is 3.5 Newton, there the field strength is 7 Newton. We know that W is mg. From this information we can calculate the mass, m equal to W by g. Okay, so if you want m, then just 3.5 divided by 7, which is 0.5 kg. We found that the mass is 0.5 kg and mass is not going to change, so it's either A or B. Okay, let's keep that. Now what's the weight in earth surface? Again using the same equation, W equal to mg, mass is 0.5, g is 9.8, then it's 4.9 Newton. So option B. A cyclist is traveling in a straight line along a horizontal road at constant speed. A constant driving force F act on the cyclist in the forward direction. Which statement about the magnitude of the frictional forces acting on the cyclist is correct? Okay, so we have to compare the driving force and the frictional force. First things first, friction acts, okay, and this magnitude of the friction, let's think about it. Let's say that oil is poured in the surface tiles, okay, and if the cyclist try to move forward, he'll not able to move forward because lack of the friction. So whatever the force the cyclist exert on the cycle must be exert on the road, the same amount of force. Okay, so if there is no chance of friction, then it cannot be obtained, okay, exerted. So the driving force and friction has equal amount of magnitude, they are equal in magnitude. Whatever the force he exert, the wheel will exert the same amount of force in the road, on the road. Okay, if not, there is some force or loss due to small friction in the gear or pedal somewhere, air resistance, these things. So the magnitude is equal to F. By the way, it lagged, like the point wheel is joining the road. A spring has unstretched length of 3 cm. When a force of 60 Newton is applied to the spring, its length increased 5 cm. The limit of proportionality is not exceeded. Okay, what is the spring constant of the spring? We know that F is kx. Okay, from this we can find the spring constant F by x. So it's given 60, force is 60 Newton divided by unstretched length is 3 cm, extended length is 5 cm. So this x is actually extension. So 5 minus 3 cm. Okay, it's 30 Newton. Actually it must be, okay, spring constant unit is 30 Newton per centimeter. Yeah, small error there. The diagram shows the minimum force F1 acting vertically on the lever required to lift a heavy log of weight W. The log needs to be lifted by smaller force F1. The diagram shows the changes tried. Each diagram has only one change from the original diagram. In each case, F2 is the minimum force required to lift the log. Okay, in which situation F2 be smaller than F1? So it's obviously a moment question. So what we have to do, we know that moment is force, perpendicular force into distance from the pivot. So if F2 want to be smaller, we should increase the distance from the pivot to where we apply F2. Okay, so P, image P, you can see that the distance between pivot and F2 is higher than pivot and F1, so it will work if you can apply the less force. Second, so it's about the same distance as F1, but if you look closely, the F2 is actually perpendicular. The F1 is vertical, but F2 is perpendicular. The moment definition is force, perpendicular force, okay, into distance. So this will also will work. You need to just apply smaller amount of F2 compared to F1. And third, the distance between the log and the pivot has been slightly increased. So this means that you need to apply more force to lift this one. So it will not work. So P and Q only. A ball of mass 0.25 kg hits a wall at speed of 16 meter per second. Then it rebounds back along its original path at a speed of 12 meter per second. What is the impulse experienced by the ball during its impact with the wall? What's the impulse equation? Ft equal to change in momentum, which is mv minus u. So Ft 0.25 into 12 minus of 16. Why that is? Because initially we took this as 12 meter per second. Okay, let's take any one direction positive, then the other must be negative. So if initial velocity is 16, if we take that positive, then 12 must be negative. So in this case I have took 16 as negative, so this direction is negative. So when it come back, 12 is positive. Okay, that's why 12 minus 16. I can put anyway. You can take 12 positive, 16 positive, 16 negative, 12 negative, no problem. But one direction must be positive, then other direction is negative. That's all. So if we add, we get 0.25 into 28, which is 7 Newton per second. Sorry, 7 Newton second. Option D. A bicycle braking system transfers energy from a kinetic energy store to an internal energy store. A motor converts energy from mechanical energy store, battery, to a kinetic energy store. What enables these energy transfers? Bicycle system transfers energy, kinetic energy to internal energy. Kinetic energy is the energy associated with something moving, so which is mechanical work. Okay. Battery, it's inside the battery, it's chemical energy, but chemical energy store to a kinetic energy store means electrical work done. You have used a motor or a vibrator, whatever it is. Okay, so option D. Research is being carried out to proceed electrical energy from the fusion of hydrogen nuclei. Which row shows two of the problems in designing a fusion reactor? Okay, what are the two problems? One, the temperature required to execute a fusion reaction is very high. Then only the repulsion between these two nuclei will overcome, and then they will become one big nuclei. The reason is they are positively charged and they repel each other. Yes, which gives D. The engine of a motor vehicle develops a large power. Which statement is correct? Okay, we know that power is energy by time. So power is directly proportional to energy and inversely proportional to time. So the engine must transfer large amount of energy each second. Yes, other quantities doesn't talk about energy or time. The graph shows how the pressure due to liquid varies with the depth beneath the liquid surface. The gravitational field strength G is 9.8 Newton per kg. Okay, what is the density of the liquid? Okay, we have depth beneath the liquid surface, which is height h, and pressure due to the liquid, which is P. Okay, so we have P versus h graph, and we have to find density of the liquid. Okay, let's take any point. So I have took 0.50 and 4000. We know that pressure is proportional to h. So this point I have took. Which equation connect height and pressure? P equal to rho g h. Okay, so rho is constant for given liquid, and then g is just constant. Yeah. Now if we substitute these 2 points, we can find height. Rho is P divided by g into h. So 4000 Pascal divided by 9.8 into h 0.50 meter. So it's 816.3 kilogram per meter cube. If we round off, we get 820 kilogram per meter cube. What is the lowest possible temperature? Absolute zero. And what happens to the energy of particles in this temperature? So we know that lowest possible temperature is called absolute zero, which is minus 273 degrees Celsius. Okay, and the particles have least kinetic energy. Okay, so gravitational potential energy is independent of temperature. That's just mgh. There is no role for temperature. Yes, and this is not 0 degree Celsius, it's 0 Kelvin, lowest, absolute zero. Which statement about the particles of a substance after condensation is correct? Okay, what's condensation? The water vapor, when it came with contact with some cooled surface, low temperature surface, then just condense there and become a liquid. Okay, when they are water vapor, the particles are far apart, they have more kinetic energy, so they are flowing here and there. When they are condensed, remember that they are not frozen. Okay, frozen means it becomes solid, it becomes ice. So they have fixed position, but it's just condensation, so they are liquid. Now they are close to each other and slide over each other. This is the property of the liquid. Two otherwise identical cars, one black and one white, are at same initial temperature. The cars are left in bright sunshine and their temperature increases. During the night, their temperature decreases. Which car shows the greater rate of temperature increase and which car shows the greater rate of temperature decrease? Okay, one clear idea. Black is a good absorber, also good emitter. Okay, white is just good reflector. So the black will have the greater rate of temperature increase, also the black will have greater rate of temperature decrease. Further, not part of this question, but further you can move into to dull or shiny, matte or shiny. Okay, again matte will have lower the temperature, shiny will have increase the temperature difference rate. White is just good reflector, both good observer and both good emitter goes to black. Drop of water from tap falls onto surface of some water constant depth. View from above. Okay, water waves are spread out on the surface of the water. Which statement is correct? We know that water waves are transverse. By looking at the circle, we can tell they all travel same speed in all direction. Then only you will get a circle. If only one side is greater direction, then you will go just this side. Each point f is one focal length from center of the lens. Each point 2f is two focal length from center of the lens. Which diagram shows a converging lens being used as magnifying glass? Okay, to use a lens as magnifying glass, we have to keep the object between center of the lens and focal point, okay, which have only option D. If you look only in option D, the object is between the focal point and the center of the lens. If you go away from focal length, that's different. If you keep just before the focal length only, you will have the same upright image there. Okay, it's a virtual image. This is technically a magnifying glass. A monochromatic ray of green light in air enters black of glass. Which property of the ray of light always remains same as it moves from air to glass? We know that V is f lambda. When light or any other wave for that matters enters from one medium to another medium, velocity will change, the wavelength will change. And one can ask, how if wavelength changes, the frequency is not changing? The answer is, the combination of velocity and wavelength change will nullify each other, so that the frequency remains not changed or unchanged. So frequency. A narrow beam of white light passes through prism and is dissipated into a spectrum. Which row is correct? Okay, if you want to remember the answer, you just have to remember this picture. You know that Vibgyor, right upside down from VIBGY top to bottom to top. Okay, now you can answer which color. C, I think C, yes. Color 1 is red higher, color 2 is yellow in the middle, color 3 is blue. A student writes 4 statements matching a communication system to the region of the electromagnetic spectrum that it uses to transmit signals. Which statement is correct? Cable television uses infrared wavelengths. Okay, so there is a list which wavelength is appropriate use for which communication system. Okay, you must go through it. Like this, speed of sound in air, liquid and solid, wavelength, visible light wavelength of different colors. These things are worth remembering, at least for IGCSE exams. Yes. A ship sounds its horn when it is 790 meter from a cliff. A passenger on the ship hears echo in 4.8 seconds later. What's the speed of the sound? Okay, we know that the speed is distance by time. Here distance is actually, let's say that this is cliff and this is ship. When the ship is honking, the horn sound travels all the way from here, get reflected and here. So this is 2 times the distance between the cliff and the ship. Okay, so it's 2 times distance, which is 790 meter, divided by the time it takes is 4.8 seconds. So answer is 329.1 meter per second. If we round it off, 330 meter per second. By the way, if you know the answer how sound travels in air, you can directly check the B. But 340 is close. Watch for it. Which row gives the metal used to make the core of an electromagnet and one property of the electromagnet? You have to use soft ion for metal. Properties temporary magnet. Yes. Hard steel will be for permanent magnet. A plastic rod and a dry cloth are uncharged. The rod is now rubbed with the cloth and they become charged. The rod becomes negatively charged because some charged particles move from the cloth to the rod. What is the charge on the cloth and which particles move from charging process? Okay, if rod becomes negative means the cloth become positive. Okay, so C or D obviously, and it's not neutron because neutron is inside nucleus. Nucleus, whatever inside, protons or neutron. First, neutron is neutral one. Second, even if it is proton, okay, these things has nothing to do with charge or current, whatever, or day-to-day life electricity, only involving electron. So positive and electron. This is a bit tricky question, but easy to see, very easy to commit mistake. A student does an experiment to investigate the resistance of a metal wire. The graph shows the result from the experiment, resistance versus something, and the graph looks like 1 over x or 1 over x square. They are close. What is plotted on the x-axis? Okay, let's diameter, we have length, we have temperature, and then current in the wire. Okay, we know that R is rho L by A. So this is which connect with the rest of the quantities given in the option. Resistance. So R is proportional to 1 by A area. Okay, so area is not given, so this is not, and area which is pi r square, so radius square, that's also not given. Only diameter is given. We know that radius is half of the diameter. If we substitute, we get d square by 4. 4 is a number, so it will again go in a constant. So R is proportional to 1 by d square. So the plotted axis is diameter of the wire. Because R is inversely proportional to the diameter, so the graph will look like this. Diameter square. Yes. The cost of electrical energy is $0.25 for each unit of 1 kilowatt hour. At 2200 watt heater is switched on for 48 minutes. What's the cost of this use? Okay, we know that power is energy by time, and we just have to find cost. Okay, which is we just have to find how much energy it's consumed. So power into time. So 2200 into it's 48 minutes, which we have to convert into hour, because 1 kilowatt hour price bill is given. Okay, yes. So if we do this, then it's 1760. Remember, I have divided by 60 because we want the answers in hour. If you want the hours in seconds, then we would have multiplied by 60. Why we want in hours? Because for each unit the bill is given 1 kilowatt hour, not kilowatt second. Kilowatt hour is given. Yes. Okay, now we got 1760 watt hours. For 1 kilowatt it's $0.25. For 1760 watt hour, how many kilowatts are this? Just 1.76 unit kilowatt hour. Okay, so 1.76 multiplied by 0.25, which gives us $0.44. Good. The table describes 4 different resistant wires. They are all made from same metal. Which wire has the smallest resistance? Okay, we know that R equal to rho L by A, which is pi r square. So resistance is proportional to length and inversely proportional to radius square. So the longer length will have longer resistance, but we are looking for smallest resistance. So which has smaller length, either A or B, and which in the smallest length which has longer diameter, larger radius, B. So 2 meter and 1.5 millimeter diameter. Yes. Yeah, just one more time. Resistance is proportional to length. So the longer wire will have more resistance. We are looking for short resistance, so shorter wire. Which length is shorter? 2 and 3, 2 is shorter, and the diameter should be higher because it's inversely proportional. The square of it is proportional to resistance. So the higher diameter is 1.5 millimeter. The circuit shown contains 3 switches and 4 lamps P, Q, R and S. Yes, okay. Which switch must be closed so that light only P and R? Okay. If we close the switch 1, both P and R connected. Switch only. Yes. Then if we want the lamp S and Q to be on, then we have to close switch 2 and 3, which is out of our regime. The diagram shows the magnetic field around a solenoid carrying an electric current. What happens to the strength of the magnetic field and the distance between the field lines when the current is increased? Okay. If the current is increased, the strength of the magnetic field will increase. Then what is strength of magnetic field strength? Number of magnetic field lines per area. So if the strength increase, the number of field lines in the given area will increase. So the distance between the field lines will decrease. See. The diagram shows a wire hanging freely between the poles of a magnet. There is a current in the wire in the direction shown. The magnet current causes force to act on the wire. Which direction does this force act? Okay, we have to use, so this is current is given and the force is expected. Okay, so this is left hand law. Field is from north to south. Okay, and then the current is in this down direction. So it will go like this. Sorry. So the motion is into the page. Remember. So this is the motion into the page. And this is the field. Okay, north to south, and this is the direction of the current. So it's into the page. I'm getting small pain here. Which component forms part of a DC motor but not a simple moving coil AC generator? Split ring commutator. What is the job of split ring commutator? When the poles are changing, we just have to keep steady current. Okay, steady current. Just keep the current in same direction always. That's all. That's the job of split ring commutator. A transformer has 5500 turns on the primary coil and 500 turns on the secondary coil. The output of the secondary coil is 110 volt AC and is connected to a heater. The transformer is 100% efficient. The heater produces power of 130 watt. What is the current in the primary coil? You have to find IP. Okay. Before that, we have to find what's the primary voltage. Luckily, we know the transformer equation. Vs by Ns is Vp by Np. What is N? Number of turns in the coil. Okay, let's rearrange this for Vp. Vs Np by Ns. Then eventually we are getting 1210 volt in the primary coil. Okay, we know that power is voltage into current. They are asking what is the current in the primary coil. That's a question, right? So power is voltage into current. Current is power by voltage in the primary. Okay, so the heater produces power of 132 watt. Okay, now remember, when a current or voltage enters into a transformer, the powers remains the same. Okay, that's why we are taking power as 132 watt, both for primary and in secondary. The power, it will not change, only it will increase the voltage so that decrease the current, or decrease voltage, increase the current. This is what transformer does. So 0.10 ampere. Good. The scattering of alpha particle from a thin gold foil produces the following observation. most of the alpha particles pass through the foil. Most of the alpha particles are virtually deflected. A small fraction of the alpha particles are deflected through the large angles. A very small fraction of the alpha particles bounce back from the foil. Which conclusion does not follow from this observation? Okay. The nucleus consists of protons and neutrons because, okay, when it's reflected from nucleus, we know that there is positively charged, but there is no way of telling there are neutral charges present in the nucleus. So the nucleus consists of protons and neutrons cannot be deduced from this alpha particle gold foil experiment. A nuclide of chlorine has the symbol shown, okay, 1735 chlorine. What is the nuclear number of this nuclide of chlorine? Remember, the bottom number is number of proton and the top number is number of proton plus number of neutron, which is called nucleons. So nuclear number is just the top number, 35. Nice question, eh? Which change is occurring in a nucleus during beta emission? We know what is a beta emission. One neutron is neutral and then it gives one electron. So what will be remaining there? Positive, proton. So a neutron becomes one proton and one electron. That's why the nuclear number does not change for beta decay. Only the proton number increases by 1. Nice. The graph shows how the current rate registered by a counter near to a sample of radioactive isotope changes over a period of few days. The background count rate is 5 counts per minute. What is the half-life of isotope? Okay, first what we should do, we'll plot a new curve after subtracting the background radiation. Okay, I'll take few points and then we'll subtract 5 from that point. Yes, okay. Now we'll just look at two values. Let's look 40, it's 0 days. How long from 40 to 20? It's 2 days. Same happening from 20 to 10, it's 2 days. So half-life of the isotope is 2 days. So which row about the orbits of the earth and the moon is correct? So approximate time for the earth to orbit the sun is 365 days. That's what we call it a year. And approximate time for the moon to orbit the earth is 30 days. Which statement about the orbits of comets is correct? Okay, so first it's elliptical orbit, and for ellipse the focus will not be in the center. Sun will be one of the foci. Okay, so comets have elliptical orbits and sun is not in the center of the orbit, it's just one of the focus. Okay, which row describes the power source of a stable star? Which is, stars are fueled by nuclear fusion, small or lighter nucleus joined together to give big nuclei. So the lightest element is the fuel, hydrogen. Which quantity can be determined using the brightness of a supernova in a distant galaxy? Okay, we can use Hubble's law. Also we can use Wien's displacement law, the distance of the galaxy from the earth. Okay, because the brightness give that color details we can observe, and then we can see whether it's making red shift or blue shift. So we can determine whether it's going away from earth or it's moving towards the earth. Okay, and also you will learn something called displacement law in A level. Yes, A level, how to find distance from brightness of a star. Okay, that's all, 40 questions. Bye bye, see you some other video.